Is this working? Let's see. Working. I overloaded my GPU. Damn. Looks like it's working now. Let's make sure it works here too. All right, so only works on YouTube. Looks like Twitch is broken. Oh well. All right, so today we're going to be trying out something a little different. So I have a board here that I'm unable to repair. It seems to have some type of intermittent bad CPU issue, but we can still have a little bit of fun with this board even though it's not fixable. So a lot of people ask, how long does it take for the corrosion to set in? How long does it take after you spill something like Coca Cola on the board for it to actually stop working properly? And I thought that today would be a great time to figure that out. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to plug the board in. I'm going to have the power supply on. I'm going to turn on my multimeter. And what I've done is I've actually soldered the multimeter pin. I got a nice little banana. I got not that banana plug. I got a nice little plug here that goes to a terminated wire on the other end. And I've soldered the wire to the board, and I've banana clipped it to the ground so that we're going to be able to get an actual real-time reading of the voltage of this power rail as the board is on after pouring Coca-Cola on it. So I think that it will be cool to watch the corrosion occur in real time. Hello to Noah Johnson. First thing I got to do is just make sure that my multimeter program is working properly. Also lower that so I don't go deaf. And let's open up my beautiful little multimeter program here, which may actually require that I turn off Open Broadcaster in a moment since OBS doesn't always play nice with my multimeter software. And I'm also going to record it in high quality as well so that we'll be able to go over this later and I'll be able to do cool things like maybe even speed it up so that we can see what it looks like. Even so, let's say that it takes something like 15 hours for the corrosion to take place. It would be really cool to try and condense that into a minute so that you could see it happen really fast. So first thing I'm going to do before I turn the machine on is I'm just going to take my fresh bottle of Coca-Cola. I have no idea how Jessa drinks this stuff. It is beyond disgusting. Into this brand new little dispenser bottle here. And then we're going to dispense it over the ISL 6259 chip. Now, for those of you who are wondering, the chip that I'm going to pour this on, I'm going to explain what that circuit is for in just a moment. Right, I think that's enough Coca-Cola. So if we look over here on the schematic in the board view, this is the chip that I'm going to be pouring everything on that you could see right there in the microscope camera. And what this circuit does is it turns the charger voltage, the 18.5 volts from the adapter, into PP bus G3 hot, which is a 12.6 volt power rail. And I have attached if you look over here, I have attached the multimeter wire to this output fuse so that we'll be able to monitor the voltage of that in real time as we perform this experiment. So first thing I'm going to do is turn it on. So let's get the machine turned on and working. And as you can see there, we should have a jump to 12.59 volts on PP bus G3 hot. Beautiful. And now what we're going to do is take my Coca-Cola. I shook the Coca-Cola. Ah, shit. I shook the Coca-Cola. I forgot it's carbonated. All right. Stop. Enough is enough. Stop that. Stop that. MacBook board diabetes, says Noah Johnson. Yep. That's what we're doing here. No, really. Please stop popping out of it. Okay, so I'm going to make sure not to shake it this time. You can hear that the board is on. That is the fan spin that you could hear in my microphone. Okay, so now we're going to carefully put some Coca-Cola on that ISL chip. Start with that. That's the Coca-Cola. That's not a lot, though. It's just mostly carbonation. I'm just going to put a few drops, because that's what a lot of my customers say. They always say, but I only got a few drops. It was like 1 drop of liquid. How did that happen? Okay, as you can see, the moment I put the Coca Cola on, it went up to 17.75 volts. So, wow, check that out. So now the ISL chip is not even switching anymore. It's passing through. It's right now the ISL chip is passing direct charger voltage through. So it's no longer even switching. Wow, that took almost no time at all. Let's see if I can get the light up on this. You can really get a good picture. So we're making iCola, brand new innovative apple flavored cola. Something like that. Whoa, this is so cool. That was instant. Okay, now we have 18 volts and the board turned itself off. So check that out. So PP Bus G3 Hot is now 18 volts and there is no more fan spin. See? Fan is not spinning. And check this out. Wow. Can I do the same thing at home when joyful? I wouldn't pour Coca Cola on your stuff. So let's take a look at what it did. Huh. I only came for the Coke, says Turtle Dude. That's interesting. All right, let's get a Q-tip and kind of blot that. I was really expecting this to work for longer than that. That was nothing. So I'm just going to Q-tip this stuff off just so that we can see better, because right now you can't really see anything. Can't really get an idea of the picture. So now we're back to 12.85 volts, which is stable. That's a stable voltage. It's no longer taking the charger voltage and just sending it to the machine. So for those of you who are wondering what I mean, if we look at this circuit, the purpose of this circuit is to take the charger voltage, it sends it through these transistors, and then these two transistors are going to switch on and off, on and off. So you're going to have 18 volts, 0 volts, 18 volts, 0 volts, 18 volts, 0 volts. And on the other side of this coil, that's all going to get evened out. So instead of it being 18, 0, 18, 0, it's just going to be averaged out to 12. So what happened when we poured the Coca Cola on was that, I can't read all that stuff this fast. Anyway, what happens when you get the Coca Cola on it is that these transistors stop switching. This one gets turned on all the time. So the U7000 is telling the machine, keep this transistor on all of the time, constantly, so it's no longer switching. And that happened immediately at the point that we put the Coca Cola on the board. There was no time left to spare there. So let's just check out what it looks like with a little bit in the Q-tip. Got a quick tip for when you only got crap wick, flux, and a plunger, but want to remove solder anyway. Have yourself more, why not? Good luck with the cola, should be pretty tasty. Thank you, Noah. But I'm not going to drink any of this after putting it on the board. Now, you can also see how the capacitor, everything has corroded almost instantly. And this is one of those things to think about if you're thinking about putting Coca-Cola into your body. So check this out. This is not something that took a long time. You know, people have said, I only got 1 drop on my machine. I only got 1 drop. How could it possibly do anything? Well, you saw, most people are not only getting 1 drop of liquid on their machine. They're not literally pouring out of a little drop like this. That's not what people are doing. Usually they're spilling a lot. When people say 1 drop, it's a figure of speech. Here, you saw the result. This was literally 1 drop of Coca-Cola, and this is what it did. So if you want to see what a capacitor is supposed to look like on these boards, see right over here how it's nice and silver on both ends? So all these components have that nice silvery look on each end, right? And this one's actually right by the Coca-Cola, but it's not quite touching it yet, but it still has that nice silverish shine on each end. And you can see that amongst all the other components here. But when we look at this one over here, it's already very rusty looking. And I'm just going to turn off the power supply for a second so that I can safely touch these components to see. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. That junk that's formed, and you can see the green stuff. See the green stuff forming? We're just going to zoom in on that. So let's zoom in on that a little bit more and get some better lighting. So the green stuff has already begun to form from about 1 or 2 drops. And you can see here that the traces in the board are starting to get eaten up. See how this is sticking up further than that? So if I move my tweezer, there's kind of a decline over here because this copper piece has been eaten away considerably by a very small amount of Coca Cola. That is all it takes. This is the amount of time it takes for liquid, specifically Coca Cola, to ruin your machine. So it's one of those things to think about. Now we're going to turn it back on and see if it works. All right, so we turn it on, and we have fan spin, but we have quarter fan spin. So it turned on and then turned itself off immediately. Turned itself on, and then it turned itself off immediately. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some Coca Cola there while there's no voltage going through. Just a drop, literally a drop. Okay, 3 drops. I'm not very accurate with it. So this is what it looks like. I'm not going to show you what it looks like with that, man. $5 ain't enough for that. So this is without electricity going through the board. Now I'm going to turn on the power in 5, 4, 3, 2, bam. And you can see the difference. So that's when I just turned on the power right there, and you can see all the fizzing occurring. So the electricity combined with the Coca-Cola begins that process of fizzing. It's very, very violent looking. Just make sure that we're zoomed out so you can see the whole general area. Again, this is what's happening every single time Jessa Jones at iPad Rehab drinks a Coca-Cola. It's one of the reasons that, as a friend, as a compatriot, friend, and colleague, I always try to tell Jessa, don't drink that stuff, it's bad for you. This is what's happening inside of her every single time she drinks a Coca-Cola. Her voltage is going up from 12 volts to 18 volts. She's going to feel uncomfortable from the increase in her ISL voltage. There's going to be bubbling. There's going to be corrosion. Yeah. And this is also why rice is completely useless. So some people have been mentioning rice, and that's a worthwhile thing to mention. Well, the reason that rice is useless is that all of this damage occurs, and the rice can suck out the liquid, but even if, I shouldn't say that. I hope to God somebody doesn't edit me saying that, but rice is not going to suck out any of the liquid because it's not directly touching it. But even if you did suck out the liquid, the damage is already done. All of this corrosion has already occurred, has already done a number on all the components. Putting rice there is not going to do anything. It's not going to do a damn thing. As you can see, when I take use the Q-tip, the voltage on the meter started to change. We're just going to change the range in the meter for a moment. There we go. And turn it off. Put the power on again. And now we're actually getting a fan spin. It's staying on. It's actually staying on. Look at that. This is what happened to Jessa Jones's gallbladder. Okay, now we're going to do that again. Output is off. There's no power going through right now. And we're going to put a drop of Coca-Cola. All right? This is the Coca-Cola with no electricity. Okay? No electricity except for whatever was stored in the board and the capacitors. Maybe just a little bit more on this side. This stuff is so gross. So this is no electricity. And I'm going to put on the electricity now. Look at that. Look at what happens when you combine the Coca-Cola with electricity. Absolutely crazy. Wow. We're just going to keep that on for a while. And as you can see, the power supply is not working properly anymore. That little chip is not doing its job. It's telling that transistor to stay on all the time. And now a circuit that's supposed to be getting 12 volts is getting 17 volts. This is another argument against putting power into a circuit when it has gotten corrosion on it. If you get corrosion on a circuit like this, if you get liquid in it, and you try charging it to see if it's okay, maybe it just needs a charge, maybe it just died, you could be sending 17 volts to a circuit that's expecting 12. You could be, a chip that's supposed to be controlling switching may no longer switch. So this is why it's very important. If you get liquid on any type of electronics, do not put power through it, remove the battery from it, because if you put power through it, you make everything considerably worse. There are a lot of phones that Jessica gets for data recovery that may have been recoverable that become unrecoverable because they sat on the charger for a week from somebody that has that last little remaining shred of human hopefulness that maybe it just needs a charge and then it'll work. No, it won't. This is what happens when you put the device on the charger. And I'm going to keep it on for a little bit until it dies again so that we can... Actually, there we go. Just died again. No more fan. And we're going to see just how bad this gets. That is some nasty stuff right there. So let's see how long it takes until we have no voltage at all on PP Bus G3 Hot. It's going down back to, yeah, we got 11 volts, 4 volts. That circuit fried in no time. Okay. Still bubbling, still bubbling. Should we Q-tip off the Coca Cola and see how much more damage there's been, or should we wait a little longer? I'll let the chat decide. Q-tip off that damage and see what it looks like, or do we wait until we're down a 1 volt or 0 volts to do that? Wait a little bit. Most of the votes are to wait and let the board suffer. Well, I agree. We're going to wait. We could also try putting higher voltages through the board for fun. So this power supply goes all the way up to 32 volts. What size monitor? Why Seiki? I got a Seiki monitor because back in 2014 or 15 when I bought this, 4K screens that were large cost a ridiculous amount of money. And this is a 40-inch and I was being cheap. Seiki is terrible though. So don't ever buy a Seiki monitor. From the PWM and the blinking when you lower the brightness to the randomly losing 4K signal, they suck. All right, so the sudsing seems to have subsided. There's no more sudsing. You can see that the bubbles are almost not moving at all, and we can zoom in around any of these bubbles and take a look at what they look like. So that was only at 7x. I'm going to try zooming in on some of these bubbles at 20x so you can see what they look like. Now we're going to go zoom in at closer to 45x. You can kind of see them moving and just up the exposure to a Viceland TV contract level of exposure there, so you can see. So that's 45x. That's as far as this microscope will zoom in. Check that out. Your Twitch stream is super broken. It sure is. Twitch does not like that I upped my bitrate to 9500. Twitch is mad. You can hear it too. I'm going to put my microphone up to it. Ready? I'm going to up the volume of the microphone so that you can hear that stuff better. One moment. All right. That should be turned up a lot right now. The most damaged Mac would be something that had something like this happen to it. All right, noise has subsided. So this board seems like it still wants to put out 4 volts on Pepe Bus G3 Hot. And it's actually fighting back. It's up to 4.7 volts. So what do? Do you want me to Q-tip that so that you can see what it looks like? Or do you want us to continue letting the 18 volts ravage the circuit? What do we do? Okay, I'm going to take a Q-tip and let's see what it looks like under there. Ready? Okay, by the way, look at the color of the Q-tip. The Coca Cola is brown, but the Q-tip is black. That is burned. That is straight up burned. Okay, I'm going to stop putting power through the circuit right now. And let's zoom in on it and take a look at what the carnage looks like. This was a once perfectly clean board. We've had about 22 minutes of Coca Cola on it and destroyed. So this used to be a conductive path, and this conductive path is actually gone. The copper has been entirely eaten away. So remember this? Remember this one that I said in the beginning started to move? Started to like, look at this. There's no copper left in that point, in that probe pad. You can see the green stuff growing down here. I'm just going to scrape that off a little bit. And these components right down here are so weak that I bet I could just pop them off the board. Okay, maybe not yet. They're not that weak yet, but with some time, perhaps. That is absolutely done for. So we're going to put the power supply on again and see if we get any power here. It looks like 4 volts is the best that this can do at this point. This circuit is done for. There is no hope that this circuit will ever produce 12 volts again. And that's really all it takes. This is what Coca Cola will do to your electronics. One more go at it. That is. Huh, I'm glad you've learned stuff, Martinero. Thank you very much. Now we're back to 10 volts. So now the Coca Cola is actually required to keep it alive. Wow. And let's take the electricity off while it's zoomed in. Look, no more electricity. The bubbles are still moving, but they slow down. You see, the bubbles are moving, but they've slowed down considerably. But we put the electricity back on, and look, they're multiplying. Lewis, Twitch is broken. Lewis, Twitch stream is super broken. Yep, it is. Twitch can suck it. YouTube works. Okay, so now somebody has asked me to put in 32 volts. Well, your wish is my command. We're up to 20, 21. I'm going to zoom out for a moment. 20 voltage, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. That is 32 volts, folks. 32 volts. That is... Now it's just an exploding cloud of Coca Cola. There's really no fixing that. So let's see if we can absorb some of that into the... Here. Yep, that's all it took. There you go. Dead. So there you have it. That is what Coca Cola will do to a board. If you say that you only got 1 drop on it, well, that's what one drop will do. If you say that the water was only there for a few seconds, or that the drink was only there for a few seconds, if you say that the drink was only there for a few seconds, that's what only a few seconds will do. It doesn't take much time, depending on the type of drink you spill, for it to completely burn and destroy and eat away at your board and all the components on it. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something.